Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
If you go around the world right now one of the things that you'll hear people talking about is burnout.
Yep.
A real thing, right? Nobody is arguing that burnout is a real phenomenon that's happening to a lot of us. And when we're talking about burnout, we're not talking about just, I'm regular tired. We're talking about what we've been talking about since the beginning of the module. I am emotionally, mentally, physically exhausted.
Come on, let me ask you a quick question. Do you realize, have you guys heard the amount of people that's walking off of their job in the United States?
Absolutely.
All right.
And so the interesting thing, and I'm glad you said that, because the interesting thing is when we talk about burnout, people often associate I can only be burnt out of work. But it's not true. As we've been talking about, life. I can be burnt out on life. I can be burnt out in my relationship. I can be burnt out as a parent. I can be burnt out in all kinds of different ways. So we're talking about exhaustion. We're talking about the fact that we don't have what we need.
You and I were created to be stewards, to take care of God's planet, not to till, not to work, not to kill ourselves. I challenge you, you're not here to provide roof and clothes and food. That's not what you're here for. As a matter of fact, Jesus in Matthew chapter 6 says, the pagans do that. Jesus says non-believers chase after clothes and food. And Jesus says your heavenly Father knows you need that stuff. And Jesus says, take a break. Look at the birds of the sky. Look at the lily of the valley. Jesus said, look at them, how beautiful they are. They don't go shopping. And Jesus says, if your daddy can take care of the lily that's here today and gone tomorrow, the bird that's in the sky today and fall out tomorrow, how much more will your heavenly Father give to you to take care of your needs? So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Live with K, W,
And Jay.
And Jay will be right back. We are so happy that you have decided to join us on this Monday night for when I believe we're going to have one of the most impactful conversations that we have ever had. Looking forward to us talking together. I'm looking forward to us talking together. But before we get into all of that, it's Monday. So we are celebrating.
Yes, we are.
Let me start with Pastor Gibson tonight. What are you celebrating tonight, Pastor Gibson?
I am celebrating my preemie granddaughter.
Woo!
Yeah, Journey. Journey was born 22.2 weeks gestation last week. And so the Lord has been bringing her through. She was under a pound. And so she's a week old, roughly, almost a week old. And so I'm glad that she's getting stronger and stronger. My daughter said she is laying up in her NICU cubicle, like she was laying out on a beach in Jamaica somewhere. That's what I'm celebrating. That Gina, my daughter, is okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Kamala, what are you celebrating?
I am celebrating all of you, and by all of you, I mean all of you who come on and watch and comment, participate,
and
shop, do all the things with us. I'm not just talking about tonight, but all of you who have shown up for us over all of the time.
I'm thinking about Christine Hay.
Absolutely.
She has been with us from day one. And she has I'm thinking about Sister Remo, who joined us since we moved to this district, but has not left on Monday nights. And when she gives me permission, I want to tell y'all what she really does. So yeah, we're celebrating.
Dad?
Yes, your dad not only watches, he went out and found a guest. He went out and he met a lady somewhere and said, "Listen, you have to go on my daughter's show." So yes, I joined Kamala in celebrating you all. I'm celebrating being type 2 diabetes again. And I'm celebrating that because I've never felt so good in my life. I have lost 12 pounds since last time, but overall, almost 30 pounds now. I feel like I am young and refreshed, and so I'm genuinely celebrating the goodness of God, His mercy, His grace, and can I tell you? Can I just say it? The Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Why not? Because
it's in this church that I learned some stuff that I don't always practice.
Didn't.
Oh well, I still got some stuff to work on when it relates to my health. And I'm just praise God for that. So welcome. We're really happy that you're here. And tonight we're going to have a great conversation. What is it that we do on Monday night?
Well, before we get right there, I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Look at Brother Thomas.
Elder Thomas. What do you mean by brother? Elder Thomas.
Away from Brayton.
Elder Thomas.
Sir. Welcome.
You are the reason why I'm married to this woman. Yes. All of you in Brayton. Yes.
I love it. Guys, I want to hear from you all.
What are you celebrating?
Yes. On this Monday night?
Yes.
I see you with the blessings, Elder Thomas. I need to hear some more specifics. But guys, thank you so much for always being here as we're waiting to hear from you in the comments. Yes, absolutely. Shameless plug as usual. I'm going to always tell you to go on to www.kwministries.net/shop. Right at the bottom of your screen, right there. If you navigate there, you won't miss us because we'll be there too. And what we're doing here on Monday nights is to use a phrase from back home in Jamaica. We are keeping shop, y'all. We want you to come on down to the shop, go browsing around just like you would in the department store. I know everybody's getting ready for Christmas and all that jazz. Some of you online shop. Sometimes you like to physically shop. However you do it, guess what? We've got a store for you too. So
it's
come on over.
Extended Cyber Monday.
Hello. So shop, y'all. We got lots of great stuff in our store. We're not just saying it because it's our stuff. We're saying it because it's been life-changing for us. It's been life-changing for other people. And now it can be life-changing for you.
I love it. I love my salesperson. I love it. So we're excited again. We're excited to be here on tonight. And we have, what else do we do besides shop on Monday nights? Come on.
Guys, we also have wonderful conversations about
Yes.
life and experiences and victory and not so much victory and the process. We have conversations about what things we are going through, what things we have gone through, and things that we might go through in the future. We try just to have honest conversations with people about different topics. We've taught the gamut, depression to cancer to grief and loss to the elections. We've run the gamut of all the different experiences that we all share. And what we figured out is that the more we talk about our experiences, the more we know that we can relate to each other. And so we just want to have a relatable conversation with you tonight, as always.
We want to have a relatable conversation with you about resilience. And we have an expert who is actively trying to come on as we speak to talk with us. He teaches resilience. And I think resilience is so important. And so as we wait for him to come, why don't you just go call your neighbor, call your friend, call someone, call a young person, call somebody who's going through something and tell, well, here he is now. He's here. He's here now. So we're going to give him a second to get settled in, and then we're going to bring him in.
While you're calling your neighbors and friends.
Yes, still call your neighbors and friends. Because here's Mr. Chaplain Sackett, Pastor Sackett, teaches resilience. Mm-hmm. We had him on a few weeks ago, if you remember, with John, as we talked about post-election blue, when Jimmy abandoned us for a cruise. You remember? You ever heard fox calling grape sour, Jimmy?
I feel like Jimmy was celebrating that.
I was celebrating on that. I was the ship's name was Celebration.
The ship's name was Celebration. So you were celebrating every day. And so we're going to bring in Chaplain Pastor Sackett as we get ready to have this conversation. Pastor Sackett, are you there?
I am here.
You're here. We're not seeing you. We're hearing you clearly.
Okay.
We want to see you too.
I probably have to find out. This is a new platform for me, so I probably have to find out where to give it permission to use my camera.
Ah, there you go.
Do you know where to do that?
Let me bring Miss Anna Kay in here. So we're having technical difficulties that we're going to take care of right here online.
All right.
Anna Kay, can you help us? Okay. I think she's probably going to call you. Okay, so as we're working out our technical difficulties
with image, still have audio though.
We have audio. Well, he's going to focus on getting that done. There we go. We can see you. We can see you, sir. We can see you. Welcome back, Glenn.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're very happy to have you. You didn't meet Pastor Gibson last time. Pastor Gibson was our guest one night and just decided he wasn't leaving. So
I'm a squatter.
He's a jailer in our sandwich.
So we've been having fun together for several months now. But let me first ask you, what are you celebrating on this Monday night?
What am I celebrating on this Monday night?
Yes, sir. Every Monday night we celebrate here. We celebrate. What are you celebrating this Monday night?
Oh, I am celebrating that my granddaughter is coming for the holidays from Hawaii.
Nice.
She's coming where from Hawaii?
She lives on the Big Island.
No, she's coming to where?
Colorado.
In the cold. From Hawaii.
Yes.
In Christmas.
Yes.
We're celebrating.
Yep.
We're celebrating. Let's not
get off track.
We're celebrating. Let's start out with defining resilience. What is resilience, sir?
Resilience is the ability to resume form, direction, or shape after some force has acted in a way that deforms or detours or diverts us from our intended path.
Oh, that was good. Can you say that again slowly?
Okay. I'll give you a real short definition. It's
No, that one
bounce
was
back.
good. Can you
I'll
you
go back to that.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Bounce back ability.
Mm-hmm.
Bounce back ability. Okay, but the real definition for research purposes and for purposes of being clear about what we're bouncing back from is resilience is the ability to resume form. So come back to our own shape, our own form,
Mm-hmm.
our own shape, or our direction after some force. Life.
Yes.
Life gives us detours, misdirections, changes, surprises, all kinds of things that are nothing other than what our plan today. This reminds me, we plan, God laughs.
Mm-hmm.
So we get attached to our plans, and most people are at least somewhat change resistant. So we like our comfort zone. We like to be where we think we're going to be, and we like to be going where we plan to be going shortly. But when life puts something in the way of our path that we intended to go, with something deforming us, moving us out of our personal form, detouring us from our path, or diverting our energy or attention from where we wanted it to be. Resilience is our ability to notice what happened, maybe move around an obstacle if we have to. We can't pretend that obstacles aren't there. We can't pretend that change doesn't happen. We can't pretend that surprises don't happen. They do. That's just part of life. So resilience is our capacity to recognize what happened, but not be permanently detoured by it, but to find our way back to our own path, the path of our choosing, the path that we intend to be on.
I tell you something that really just jumped out at me. There are a lot of things that jumped out at me from your definition, but one of the things that jumped out at me is the use of the word force, because it suggests that the thing that has occurred is something that has so much impact that it has the ability
like you're
essentially
experiencing right now.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
I really appreciate it,
Yes.
because I think oftentimes when we talk about resilience and we talk about this ability to bounce back, we don't do it while still acknowledging the force of the thing that we are bouncing back from.
Yes, it's real.
Yeah.
There is a great difference between resilience and toxic positivity.
Let's talk about that. What do we mean?
Toxic positivity is like, I'm wearing a shirt that says good vibes only. And so that means that I only want to see what's good, but life gives us whatever it gives us. And people who tend not to know what is actually happening that's making life difficult, which reminds me, by the way, of one of my favorite books, Scott Peck's book, The Road Less Traveled, which sentence number 1 says, life is difficult. But the difficulty is not the problem. The problem is that we want to avoid the difficulty. We want to pretend that it isn't there. And by the end of the first page, he goes on to say that the detour, the surprise, the force is not our problem. Our problem is that we don't want to deal with it. We want to pretend it didn't happen. We want to escape it somehow. And we may use some form of addiction. We may use some form of neurosis. We may
religion.
Yes, when religion is used as an addictive process rather than as a faith building process. It pretends not to know certain things. But real faith looks at the difficulty and says, like Scott Peck did, life is difficult. Okay, let's overcome the difficulty.
Yeah.
And faith gives us the ability to overcome the difficulty. Resilience is a set of abilities and tools that we have to apply faith to the specific problems and difficulties and challenges and surprises that occur in our life.
Let me ask a question, please, sir. You talked about we can use toxic positivity. Is it possible, or would you agree that when we go on the detours, when we don't face the challenges, we compound the issues, we delay the relief, and we make life ultimately harder? Would you agree with that statement, sir?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that is like the first half of Scott Peck's book is about all the ways that we use to do that. And that what happens is that whenever we use substitutes, whether it's a true addiction or whether it's compulsive behavior or something else, compulsive shopping, gambling, sex, religion, whatever, where it becomes a control mechanism for us to try to control forces out there. It doesn't actually control them, but it isolates us. We put blinders on. And when we put blinders on, we stop developing emotionally and spiritually. And that's a classic understanding of what happens with addiction, is that the moment a person starts, say, drinking alcohol for the purpose of being intoxicated rather than just for the taste, or, to be celebrating a birthday or 4th of July or whatever, when they start doing it for the purpose of
Numbing,
yes, anesthesia from life's difficulties, from that moment on, emotional development slows or stops. And so however long we go on with that kind of process, we are starting to develop a slowed emotional development. We don't learn the things that people our age should learn about relationships and how to overcome difficulty and how to navigate the surprises and changes in life. So when a person comes to the point of their life has fallen apart so much that they are ready to get treatment, they're ready to recover from that, that's great.
yes,
But they have a gap to fill because all that time that they missed their emotional development, they have all those tools that they need to learn that they didn't learn along with their peers who were sober. And so back to your question, religion? Yes. When people use religion as a control mechanism rather than as faith in God always being with us. When we use it as a control mechanism to try to convince other people that we're right, when we use it to try to support our pretense that things aren't difficult, that stops our emotional growth process. We might learn lots more religion. We might learn to quote text to people. We might learn cognitive knowledge about religion. When a religion becomes about something instead of it is something, it is love, it is presence, it is, when it stops being something and it becomes about something, then it's probably being used as a control mechanism.
It reminds me of
that slows our growth as human beings down.
It reminds me of those many times when we will utilize statements like, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Well, that's wonderful. Cognitively. I'm hungry in this moment.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I say that because this afternoon I spent most of my afternoon at the church next door getting ready for their food bank tomorrow. Right. Tuesday's food bank day, Monday is setup day, and I go help set things up and and get the store ready for the people who will be coming tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we might send them thoughts and prayers, but their kids really like peanut butter sandwiches.
They sure do.
That
And
was
right
good.
now they don't mind cookies.
That was so. Resilience. What are some of the tools? And
Okay,
of course, Jim,
let me-
just jump in. Yes.
Let me say, everyone has resilience.
Okay.
We're all born with a certain amount, and the term for that, when we use research language, resiliency with a Y, is the resiliency that we're born with that comes from our families to us, and that varies from family to family and situation to situation. But we all have some.
Right.
And some of it's just part of our biology. Some of it's part of our mind.
A baby
That's
falls
fair.
down, she gets back up.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Children have to be taught by their environment or by actual teaching to stop being resilient because they naturally have it to begin with.
Ooh, hold on. Hashtag that. Children, that's not what I thought it was going to say. Children has to be taught by their natural environment or actual teaching not to be resilient. They naturally have it. Unpack that.
Okay. Child falls down. If the parent or whoever is taking care of them at the time makes too big a fuss about whatever little bruise or bump they got, and poor you and all of that kind of thing, and lets them stay down, they're teaching them not to be resilient. If the parent stands back and watches, connects emotionally, but lets the child direct what's going to happen next, the child will stop crying, will roll over and get up and start walking again.
We're horrible parents. I'm just gonna say it.
Now-
Horrible parents.
No, you can't love a child too much, but you can protect a child too much from life's challenges.
Now, would that be in terms of Erickson's stages of development?
Yeah.
Is that in the beginning, that trust and mistrust segment of the stages of development, that's where that resiliency is built up in that stage?
Yes. And it's fascinating how that correlates with our relationship with God. If as a parent we are present with our child, but we allow them to overcome the obstacle, our presence with them will never be forgotten. I remember I was 8 years old. We lived in the country in Wisconsin on a dirt road, which at the moment was a totally mud road, undrivable because we were in several days of rainstorms, and they were rebuilding the road, and it was just a mess. So we had to park at a neighbor's place and walk across the field toward our house, about a half a mile, quarter mile, half mile, through the fields, pasture. My dad's walking next to me. He's holding my hand. My hand is in my dad's hand. Every time the lightning flashes, we can see the trees where our house is. And so, my dad's saying, "Oh, there it is. Yep, we're going the right direction." Or, "Oh, we're a little off. Now we need to turn to the right and go because there's the house. It's in those trees." In that experience, I have this total sense of my dad's presence. He cannot stop the rain. He can't stop the lightning. He makes use of the lightning as part of our wayfinding and teaches me to do it in the process. Without trying to teach me, it just happens.
Yeah.
So I still have to walk in the mud. I still have to be in the rainstorm. I still am seeing the lightning. I'm hearing and feeling the thunder. But that becomes the beginning of a lifelong fascination with storms and an interest in watching lightning and counting the time till the thunder comes and photographing lightning and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it all began with that experience of Dad's just solid presence with me,
Mm.
even though he couldn't stop the storm.
Let me ask you something,
That was
Pastor
good.
Sackett. So, kind of based on the experience that you shared and what you shared about children have this resiliency that's kind of innate within them. How did we get from the place of having this innate resilience to being in this culture that almost at
Toxic
this point
facility.
overemphasizes, oh my gosh, we're not resilient, we need to learn how to be resilient? How did we lose track of this
Natural
ability?
innate ability.
Great question. I probably have about 10 or 12 great spiritual teachers in my life. I've had a lot of people I've learned little bits from, but I've got about 10 or 12 people that I learned a lot from. And one was Dan Tacchini. Dan was a former NFL player, former cocaine addict who got sober from his cocaine addiction. And he went through a intensive training called LifeSpring. In LifeSpring, he learned a lot of life principles. But in his becoming sober, he also became a more true Christian. I think he was raised in a Christian background, but it didn't mean anything. It was just there. But in his sobriety, he came to understand how important it was, and he got serious about it and started studying. And he went to the LifeSpring people. He says, the principles you teach are great, but they actually would be better taught using a biblical background and the authority of the Bible. Would you allow me to modify your program and put it on a biblical basis? And they said, yeah. We don't get those people anyway, so yeah, go ahead. Because it was a secular organization.
Right.
So he put the biblical foundation of life's principles underneath some of the language and the teachings and the educational methodology of LifeSpring, and changed. He gave it a new name. Breakthrough training, and he wrote a book. The name of the book was Killing the Victim Before the Victim Kills You.
Mm.
There's a long title for a book. Killing the Victim Before the Victim Kills You.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long way to say, but I like to show how I learn things, because this stuff wasn't just dumped into my head.
Right.
I learned things by being around the right people at the right time and by digging in and learning more. His principle behind the title is America has developed a culture of victimhood.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And in the culture of victimhood, we have excused some people from growing and developing and performing because they've been identified as a victim of something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is true that people who have really been victimized by something will be set back, but it doesn't have to be permanent.
Right.
And if we don't overindulge those people, like the little children learning to walk, if we don't overindulge them, they'll pick themselves up, they'll look around, they'll figure out, okay, what step do I take next? And they'll do it. But in the culture of elevating victimhood and using it even when something may not truly have victimized them, we have developed an attitude in our culture that if somebody's been disadvantaged or had something bad happen to them, we'll make excuses from then on.
Which stops their growth.
Yes, because the essence of our true growth is being challenged. It is, the child has the challenge learning to walk and stand on 2 feet. But then once they do that, they're going to start moving faster on 2 feet, and they're going to encounter obstacles, and they got to figure out whether to go around or over or under. And it is that constant bumping up against obstacles and finding out how to get around or through or over that obstacle rather than going away from it or giving up. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. That's the reason they give us tests in school, is because it's an obstacle in our way to graduation. And we have to overcome it by studying or listening really well. And my two kids were different. One could listen really well in class and get everything and remember it and ace the test. The other one had to study also. But each one of them figured out what they had to do to pass.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's different for each of us. I mean, what it is that challenges us, what stops us, what is in the way, what we have to overcome is somewhat individual. We all have tests, but what we have to do to prepare for that test is somewhat individual.
Right.
So let's talk about the tool.
So your resilience, Pastor Sackett, is built up by continually trying to get through that situation.
Yes.
So it's not just because you've wearied that you stop, but even through the weariness, you continue to work through it.
Yes. Now, you asked Winston, what are the tools? Or was it?
Yes.
Is it Kamala?
Kamala, yes.
Kamala. Okay. I had to learn to say Kamala instead of Kamala. Now I have to learn to say Kamala. Yes, because we each have names that might look like somebody else's, but they're ours. And it matters. So the tools. Okay, we talked about resiliency, that inherited part that we all have. That never grows. We have that. But resilience with an E on the end is an equal amount of potential capacity, or even greater than equal in some, that we have room to develop in our lives to increase our total resilient capacity.
Right.
And so there are tools, not just dealing with the obstacles. That's part of it. But then there are tools that we can use to reduce the impact of surprises and obstacles on us. There are other tools that we can use to increase our energy to overcome them. There are tools that we can use to increase our focus on our purpose and our direction. There are physical tools. A quick physical tool is when something happens, to stop a moment and take a deep breath and then let it out slowly. When we let a breath out slowly, our heart tells our brain, you're safe. You don't need to run. You don't need to ramp up. You don't need to escalate. So if we take a breath and let it out slowly, our body begins to feel safe. The hair on the back of our neck lays back down. So that's a physical tool that's very fast. A spiritual tool that's very fast is God help.
Peter.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Yep. Yeah. Or it's, for the child, it's Mom.
Yeah.
It's calling for help.
Yeah.
Spiritual relational tool, whether it's God, parent, and a mental tool that is also very quick is see how big the problem is and then shrink it down. I have a whole CD of recordings of a guy who did character acting in Hollywood, but he also made up his own stories and recorded them. And one of them is a coach with it sounds like a junior high football team he's talking to. And he's got them all in the room. They're getting ready to go out and play. And he says, now I want you to see your problem here. I want you to look at it, hold it in your hand, see how big that is. That's too big for you to swallow. So I want you to close your hand and shrink it down. And then he says, I want you to take your other hand and reach in there and shrink it down even more. And I want you to shrink it down till it's the size of a ping pong ball. Now take your other hand and put it back in there and squeeze it down to the size of a marble. Okay? That problem that was too big for you to swallow before, squeeze it down one more time to the size of a little green pea.
Mm-hmm.
Now put that in your pocket and get out there and play ball.
Mm. Mm.
So it's a mental, that's
Mm-hmm.
a cognitive, a mental tool to take the problem and go, rather than it's so big, I can't deal with it, it's to move it away, shrink it down, see that it's not bigger than you are, then put it in your pocket and go ahead and do what it is that you came to do.
Pastor Sackett, could you give an example of something that someone might envision as a huge problem
What can be shrunken?
and how they would mentally do that kind of shrinking of the problem into a manageable size?
Let me give you the scenario. I got fired.
Give me a problem.
Yes.
Oh, I got fired.
I got fired. I did not get fired. Okay, but that's the scenario I'm going to give you. I got fired yesterday.
It's a scenario that many of us will experience.
Right.
And whether it's fired or the job got eliminated, I've had that one happen. That's huge. So the first thing that I would likely do, because it's the pattern I've developed for these kinds of really big things, is to say, am I okay?
Mm.
And of course, my first reaction to that, if I was just fired or my job was eliminated or the company closed or, whatever, is to say, no, I'm not okay. Wait a minute. What is okay? Let's define okay. I have a roof over my head. I had breakfast. I am not hungry. I have enough water to drink. I have food, shelter, and water. My family loves me. I still have friends. I don't have a job now. But everything else that's necessary for me to live and live well, I have. So yes, I'm okay. At this moment, I have shelter, food, water, love, friendship. I'm okay.
At this moment.
I got a big problem ahead of me, but right now, I'm okay.
Wow.
I'm okay.
That's good. That was good.
So then, once when I'm okay again, now I can look at that. Okay, I'm going to have to find another job. And I can say, all right, how do I do that? What will I do? What do I know about what other people have done? What did I do last time I changed jobs? Who did I call? I know I have to get my resume, update my resume. I know that I have to keep myself finding something to do that's useful and successful in the interim period, especially men, because men lose the sense of success and effectiveness easily. So I'll give you an example of what I did to increase my resilience when there was a situation in which there was a mutual agreement that I would leave a company. And it happened very fast. So it was like being fired, but it wasn't exactly. I said, from my experience and from what I've heard from others going through this experience, men really need to structure themselves to keep doing things that are useful and important and that give a sense of accomplishment and success. So I'm going to do the things like update my resume, call my friends, call my colleagues, reach out to people, but I'm also going to do something that I just love to do, which is photography. And I'm going to assign myself to find one picture every day that is worthy of publishing. Now, this was way back at the beginning when we have computer life, when there weren't photo blogs. Blogs were just words. But there was one company that had started building in the capability of posting a photo along with the words. And so I signed up for that. I got it, and I went out every day in my morning walk, and I I went until I found a picture was worthy of posting. I did that all through the months of job hunting. And it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because I had people writing back to me and talking to me in the neighborhood and around the community saying, wow, that was such a cool, where'd you get that picture? Where did you find that? And so it gave me a sense of
Success.
I'm still effective. I'm still contributing something to my community. I didn't just check off a picture a day, but it kept building community around me.
I want to ask you, I want to go back to the help piece when you cry out to God for help, or your baby
Yeah.
cry out to the parent for help. How important is that piece to recognize when I need help and the ability to cry out for it, whether it's from a mental professional, whether it's from a spiritual perspective? How important is it to recognize, hey, I need help, and how do I go about crying out for it?
Well, let's stay with that job scenario. What I lost immediately was my daily companions at work. So, realizing that what really fed my soul and my energy bank was relationships with people, I realized that going into isolation, which would naturally occur, it would not be a good thing.
Right.
And so, okay, I need help. Well, now I can ask for help. I can also go out into the neighborhood and the community and see what people need and help them. I can go out for my morning walk in the neighborhood, and instead of just meeting somebody on the path, I can really connect with them. Now, maybe they're in a hurry and don't want to stop and talk, but there are some people who would. So just recognizing that it is important to continue to connect with people allows me, without necessarily asking for help, to get help. Then there are other things where I need to say, okay, what kind of help do I need? Okay.
Yes.
I might need somebody to listen to my story today. I might need somebody who can connect me with somebody else where there's an opportunity that I should check out. I'm thinking about the book called The Tipping Point. They identified two key kinds of people who help us be successful and thrive in the world. And one person is what they called a maven, an expert about something. So, okay, I decided at that time I needed to find a maven about spiritual strength and development and growth, a typically called a spiritual director. I didn't need a psychologist. I didn't need medication, but I needed a companion to be able to walk through the experience with somebody who had the experience of walking with people through difficulty and helping people grow through the difficulty. So I found a spiritual director who could be my companion through that. What else did I need? Well, I needed contacts with the job market. So I looked back into my memory and I thought, okay, who are all the recruiters from health agencies that I have interacted with as a manager? I can go back to them now and say, well, I'm in this for another reason right now, and you have great connections. So I'm going to let you know what's happening in my life. And interesting things begin to happen. And so instead of just randomly sending out resumes to blind alleys, I started very quickly getting leads and connections And, oh, do you know about this? Do you
Mm-hmm.
know they're starting a new something here? Have you talked to anybody there yet?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think
yeah.
I think that is so important, and I want to follow up on that real quick. Come on, if you don't mind. Is the what kind of help do I need? Because so easily when things happen or things go awry, is we throw money at it. We throw money
Mm.
at it, and
Mhm.
that's the fixer for everything. But what I hear you say, and this is so crucial, Anake, can you highlight this? What kind of help do I need? So I don't
Mhm.
just need, I have to be aware that I need help, but then
Mhm.
what kind of help? Can you, and you talk through this like it's so easy because you teach it again, but can you help us again? Just go through this with us some more, processing how to get the responses as to what kind of help that we need. I just think that's just
Oh,
so important.
okay. I'm going to refer to my my little booklet that I created for resilience workshops,
Oh, nice.
and
How do
on
we get a
page
copy of
one.
that?
Pardon?
How do we get a copy?
I will send you a PDF file for it.
Okay. And so,
Okay,
and
and then
I'm
anybody else who's listening can get it from you.
okay.
Is that all
Wonderful.
So
right?
if you're listening, hold
Okay.
on a second, Doc. If you're listening and you want this tool, this is so important as we go into 2025.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything. It's not costing us anything.
No.
Doc is providing this free for us. All you have to do is go to
KWministries.net.
KW Ministries. KW.
It's
Isn't
right
it
above
long?
your head there. I see it.
Right here, right here.
Yep, it's right there.
There it is. Claim your prize. Everybody's a winner tonight. KWministries.net, and we are going to send you tools on how you can be resilient. Oh, I knew when I met this guy it was going to be good. I knew.
I'm going to come to your question in a minute because it's on the first inside page, but I got to show you the front page here.
Building
Just
your
him
resilience.
and just make that just him on there.
Can you see that tree
Yes.
on a rock?
Yep.
It's
Talk
growing
about
on a rock.
resilience.
That's a resilient tree.
Absolutely. I love it.
Okay. The okay, I got it here somewhere. That tree also shows up in Psalm 1. So this isn't just psychology. This is spirituality. This is,
Yes.
he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth
Yes.
forth fruit in his season.
Yes.
His leaf also shall not wither,
Yes.
Yes.
and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
That's right. That's
Hallelujah.
right.
Okay, now think about the beginning of a tree is roots. Oh, I should have brought it down. Up in my bathroom, I have in the shower area by the window, I have an acorn that sprouted in my yard. And I put it in a clear glass jar, and it put down roots, and it sent up leaves. It's about this size right now. Some squirrel dropped this acorn in my garden, and it sprouted, and I have this little tree. Well, the beginning is the roots coming out and going down.
Yeah.
So on page 1 inside here, the 3 characteristics of resilience, the 3 categories of tools: grounded and centered, or centered and grounded. So this is the rooting. When our roots go down, they go down into something solid, and they bring us solid connection. So this is, there's a great little biblical story, and there's a song about it. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. And the house that was built on the rock stood firm, and the house that was built on the sand went splat.
Yep.
So there's a whole category of resilience tools that are based on strengthening our connection to our ground. So the presence of God is one of those. My hand in my dad's hand. that night of the storm was
an
a grounding and centering tool.
Mm-hmm.
When I have lost my job, or even when I am discouraged about my job sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
being clear what my real purpose is, because our mental energy gets scattered by all the demands of the organizations that we're connected with. They get scattered by complaints and by people who don't really understand what we're about. There's all kinds of things that try to scatter our energy. And so coming back to purpose, why am I here? What difference am I here to make? What difference am I here to make in this job today? Or if I lost a job, it's how many ways do I have to express this purpose? How many different kinds of jobs could I look for rather than just the one that I just had and replacing it with
Mm-hmm.
another just like it? So purpose and this is a part of the divine connection is what did God equip me to do? Because before anything else happened in this whole world of my life, I started as a thought in the mind of God.
Mm-hmm.
A specific thought, not a blueprint with all the little details written in, but a matrix of abilities and potentials that God put in me, expressed through my parents' DNA, added to by the community in which I grew up. What is the potential there? How many ways could God's purpose that was implanted in me now become expressed? And it could be, what's the one thing I can do today that will actually make a difference
Mm-hmm.
if I'm discouraged about something?
Mm-hmm.
If it's looking for a job, the next job, it's how many different ways could I make a difference?
Yeah. I'm hearing that in your
So
discussion. I'm hearing what you're saying, and tell me if I'm on the right track. But even when you talked about the idea of pausing and asking myself the question of whether or not I am okay, sounds like
mhm.
a part of that whole grounding
Yes,
Right,
experience.
because what makes me
yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
yeah. It kind of brings me back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
if I were to find out that I was missing some of that basics, that would quickly tell me what I really need to do now.
Right.
So you're
And it may,
saying you're
it,
saying in some cases, let's go with my scenario where I got fired. And
mhm.
if I got fired because of my attitude, and I got fired the last time because of my attitude, and I'm asking myself, am I okay? Maybe I need to see in there, no, you're not okay. You need an attitude adjustment.
Yeah. How am I not okay?
Right.
Now, let's take that one and unpack it just a little bit, and then I'll come to the number two thing. Um, being okay is not necessarily the right answer to the question, as you have just pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways in which I am okay, and there are ways in which I'm
I'm
not.
not. Mm-hmm.
And to not notice how I'm not okay is just as wrong as it is to not notice how I am okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if I need an attitude adjustment, but I just go off on
How do
my
I
merry
sign up for
way,
one of your classes? Stop. Listen, I need a class. Do you teach
doing it.
online classes? I want a class. I'm sorry.
This is it. We're doing it.
We are.
So, yes, this is another thing. Scott Peck being one of my great teachers, one of the things that he taught was um, he revised the idea of transactional analysis, which was the I'm okay, you're okay form of therapy 30 years, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, the reality spiritually and the nature, human nature, just our human condition is I'm not okay. And you're not okay, but that's okay.
Right.
I'm not okay. You're not okay, but it's okay because we can move, we can learn, we can grow, we can do whatever we need to do to be more okay. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
never be totally okay all by ourselves in our own, you know. And so he actually
Yeah.
he rewrote the song on top of Old Smoky, and he said, "For we are all turkeys," when we were using the word turkey as the slam of the decade.
Yeah.
And he wrote the whole song so that we could just have fun saying, "I'm not okay, and you're not okay. We're all turkeys, but it's okay." That's part of being human. So
Yeah.
let's stop trying to be at the top of the ladder all the time, and let's just say, where are we? And that's okay. And then we can say, okay, what do we do next?
Will you come back?
So, yes.
Will you
Number
come?
2 is inspiration. First is grounding and centering. Number 2 is inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to do with the literal inspire, breathing in, but it's also symbolic of all forms of energy. So the second category of tools for increasing our resilience is, where are the sources of energy that I can access, tap into?
Yeah.
So here's where friendships are important. Here's where relationship with God is important. Here's also where good nutrition, good sleep,
Exercise.
exercise, all these health things that put us in the blue zone. These are all important because they bring us energy. There are kinds of people, and there are specific people that just lift our energy when we're in their presence. And so when we're facing difficulty, it's important for us to actually be intentional about spending time, making time to be with those people.
Yeah. I imagine
I
it's
knew in my
also
hospital building whose offices I wanted to walk by on my way to my office in the morning.
That's
that.
good. That's good.
Because if they were in their office and I saw their smile, my energy went up. If they were
Going
not
on,
in their office, I smiled because I know this person and she's cool.
Yeah.
And I'll see her sometime today and I know it'll be good.
Yeah.
So that's number 2 is inspiration, sources of energy. Number 3 is good boundaries, which is limiting the outflow of energy. I can do this much, but not everything.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
It's the inverse of Coach Wooden and Eleanor Roosevelt saying, you cannot do everything, but you can do something. And I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who first said, at least the first credit I can find for saying, do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. So by not letting that I can't do everything suck the energy out of me, I can look at what I can do and interact in that space, that arena, and I can be effective and my energy will go up.
Pause. Doc, will you come back?
Yes.
You will? Good.
Sure.
What Anna, what's next? Ann, can you what's next week, Ann? Is it Christmas? Next week's not Christmas, is it?
It's getting close.
It's getting close.
Yeah, next
We're
week.
past the 15.
Next week will be Christmas. Not next Monday, but
isn't
Christmas.
it powerful, Christine? It is powerful. This is life. This is life changing. And again, guys, we will send you his notes for free. He's giving this. People don't give out their notes like this. He's giving us his notes for free. Okay, so we have someone next. Annika, we have to get Doc back here as soon as we can. Well, Christine, you're late. You were late, but you can go back and watch it, and we're gonna have him back, and you can get his notes. All you have to do is go to kwministries.net/claim your prize. Doc, I knew this was going to be good when we were talking, and you said, I teach a class on resilience. So the next step, Doc, is you're in Colorado. So I know that's going to cost a pretty penny, but I need you here. I need you here for my church. I need you here. I need you here.
Publicly.
I'm publicly saying this. I need you here for my church. And so I want to know a date when you can come. And so we can do a Friday night, a Sabbath morning, and a Sabbath afternoon on resilience.
We'll find that date.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
We'll find it.
Pastor Gibson, take the last word and we're done.
Doc, I'm just soaking it all in. Really, it's rich, and thank you. And I look forward to the next time and to gain more tools on how to build my resiliency.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much. If it's Monday night, you're live with
KW and
Jay.
Peace.
Yay.